Greetings and salutations, Fantasy League of Ordinary Gentlemen. It is week 11, which means we start the playoff push. 1 month, 4 weeks, 4 games to decide who can get one of the top 6 seeds, which is probably the biggest difference from previous seasons to this season. We've had 16 owners, so half of the league would get into the playoffs. We'd always do 8, and then there were no bye weeks. It immediately just, round 1 starts, win or go home. Much more of a March Madness feel. However, with the drop down to 14 players, we now do 6 owners who will make the playoff bracket, the championship bracket. Seeds 1 and 2 do get a bye, and with that in mind, there are not 6 slots available. We already know that Brennan Scala and Jonathan Andrews have claimed 2 of those spots, so only 4 of the playoff seeds are open, and then everybody else is going to be in the contention ladder. So lots of things going on. It's a start of an action-packed time here in not only the Fantasy Gents, but across fantasy leagues, across fantasy-dom. So whether you're joining us for the first time, it's a great time to come in and start getting on the action, or you're one of my returning viewers, please take a moment, like and subscribe, get us out there. We appreciate you, and we hope you're having a good time. But as you know the drill, push out all the distractions, no paperwork, no homework, wife and kids, into the basement you go. Turn up the volume on your listening device so that the sultry sounds of yours truly, Commissioner Joe Johnson, can bring you all the action as, again, we start this playoff push. I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and break these games down. We're going to start with game 1, which will feature yours truly, Joe Johnson, taking on the lone Wisconsinite, Aaron Felch. And Aaron, it has been a rough season, sir. And you are staring playoff elimination in the face. And I, the number 4 seed, currently am standing in your way. However, it is a huge bye week this week, and it shows. All of the projections are wonky this week and have huge, you can really tell what teams are going to suffer. And I am one of them, as this projection is 104 to 124. It is the largest projection line of all 7 games here in Fantasy Gents. And I am out MHJ, Kyler Murray, James Conner, so I lose my Cardinals, who are the staple of this team. I've lost more than that. No Chris Olave. Brian Thomas is irrelevant without Trevor Lawrence, and he's injured. My depth at wide receiver is all but gone, so I am a glass cannon, and the worst, there are people who are getting healthy and life is returning. I mean, look at Forrest and Brauc, mainly Brauc. Forrest is just, I think, getting lucky a little bit. But nevertheless, better lucky than good. And, they're on a killer streak on the up and up. And I feel like I'm hanging on by a fingernail, even though I'm the number 4 seed. So, if I don't have to tell you what the feeling of survival means, as Aaron is the number 1 team who has had points scored against him. Just to give you guys an idea of how bad it is, here we go. Aaron is 3-7. Okay, he has scored 1,128 points, which is good enough to be 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top 6 scoring. Okay, So that's at least a 60 if you just went off of, and there are leagues, boy, let me tell you, there are things that we do definitely different here, and there are leagues who don't do head-to-head record. They just do how many points, like total points scored, get you in. And so if we did that, Aaron's a playoff team just off points alone, okay? Now, it is not even close. Let's look at the number one team, Brennan Scala, who has scored 1,200 points. Okay, yeah, quite a bit. Definitely a top scoring team. Not going to take anything there, but has only had 960 points scored against him. Okay, now let's look at just the top 6 seeds. Okay, the person who has had the most points scored against them in the top 6 as of week 11 would be Mr. Aaron Grogg, who has had 1,172 points scored against him. Okay, and he is at 5-5 and is currently holding on to the 6th seed. Okay, now let's go back to Mr. Aaron Felch, who has, now it is not even close, number 1 point scored against. 1,257 points scored against him. That is less than 3 points behind the number 1 most scoring team in the league. So he's had an entire 11 weeks worth of points from our highest scoring player scored against him alone. It is mind-numbing. So I do not have to describe holding on to Aaron Felch. And it has been a roller coaster when it comes to your wide receivers. But I feel like you really have petered out. You've scored over 110 points. I think the last 5 weeks. I'd have to go back and look at it, and I've looked at enough stuff, and I'm tired enough, and I don't want to do it. However, you have a great chance to stay alive in this one. So I've talked a lot about it. Let's break it down. Like I said, no Cardinals. So Kyler's on the bench. In comes Geno Smith. And we talked about how I traded him away. But Jonathan, hey, let me tell you, going into the playoffs, a handcuff probably 10 times more important than a quarterback when you have one. But Geno Smith back with final boss. Tough matchup, San Francisco. But it was look at last week. I need some of that. Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, who have been on fire. But, dude, not only am I on bye weeks, it's tough matchups. The Jets defense and the Chargers are killing it. Brian Thomas and Romeo Doubs, wide receivers 1 and 2, and this may change. I may bring in Tyler Lockett with the stack just for the hell of it, just to see what happens. A lot of that's going to depend on DK Metcalf. Yeah, we're running Mark Andrews. I even thought of pulling a Derrick Ashe and a Jack Little Raven and starting Dallas Goedert, but it's just not a better match. Maybe just, streaming Elijah Moore in this game. Why not? Green Bay's defense, Moody the kicker, I feel like this is going to be one of those. My defense and kicker are going to be highest scoring players on my team, quite possibly this week. Aaron, for you, sir, it looks like, just on paper, if we were to take away the record and you just looked at the players in the matchup, you would love this. Jalen Hurts gets Washington. Not a defense I'm worried about. Joe Mixon and Tony Pollard. Now, I'm going to taper my expectation there for Tony Pollard, given, the fact it's Minnesota's defense. But Joe Mixon on Dallas, it's been the Joe Mixon show. We still don't know if Nico's coming back. So Dallas, who cares? Look what Philadelphia did to him on the ground. Joe Mixon's going to have a day. Jaden Reed, Ladd McConkey, Chicago. Now, that might actually be a silver lining on my for me. Chicago is fantastic against wide receivers and quarterbacks. So might be a very tough day in Green Bay. And, one of the reasons I'm running Dobbs is because I do think Reed is going to, take a lot of attention here. And so that might free up Dobbs. However, Christian Watson has been on fire lately, so we could both get hosed here. Who knows? Maybe they'll focus on Christian Watson for some weird reason, and then we will have some success. We'll see. See what kind of Jordan Love we get too. Hawkinson, yeah. Hopefully Mark Andrews, who gets a tough matchup against Pittsburgh, and that's one of those things where I've always argued that the tough matchups, are better for tight ends, but then Hawkinson, who has been really good, and I think you have a lot of confidence starting him. The flex play is not even close. Kyron Williams, who gets New England, that's going to be a bad day for me. Minnesota's defense and Matt Gay, the kicker. So two really good defensive plays from the both of us here, Aaron. And and great. I just want to say, I know it's hard. Calvin Ridley looking, where he's doing, and I thought that the fantasy footballers had a great talk about Calvin Ridley, and it's like people who had Calvin Ridley or traded him away, or maybe you dropped him on the waivers and he got picked up, whatever the situation may be, or it's maybe if you have actually held on to him this long. I don't know many people who have. In all the leagues that I played in, he either was traded away in this one he was traded away because of how deep we are. The others, they were just dropped. And it's like, you're looking at him like, what? And it's like D-Hop disappeared and look what happens. So nevertheless, I digress to get into the fact that Anthony Richardson's back in Indianapolis. So, bench all your wide receiver options in Indianapolis again. Jonathan Taylor's now the only thing you want. And yeah, you made the right call, putting him on the bench. Not a lot else going on here. Mr. Felch, I know that you're looking at this and it's like, I get a tough opponent. Joe's a fat ginger bastard, and I need to beat him, and look, he's got no one on his, that he would start. They're all on the bench and on bye weeks, and he's banged up and he's hurt. And look at all the matchups I get. It's so juicy, and you just feel so confident and warm, and you just think you're in a nice little safe place, and that at least for one more week, you're not going to be eliminated. You can get to 4-7, and then somehow can I pull a Brauc and get a win? But you know what, Aaron? You're playing Final Boss. And we already know what's going to happen, Aaron. We know what's going to happen, okay? This mush of a team that I've put together before you, the dribble that I've had to start here in week 11 is going to score whatever you put up plus another 20. These guys are going to go off this ragtag week 11 team, Final Boss. This is Joe Johnson making the best picks. I'm treating it like DraftKings YOLO, and we are eliminating Aaron Felch from playoff contention. You're going to go down with the likes of Josh and Jack. That's right. That's what's happening here in week 11. Get the fuck off my lawn and let's move on. Game 2 has our number 1 team, Brennan Scala, undefeated, 10-0, taking on that which shall not be named, he who is forever unclean, Mr. Stinky, Evan Coles. And Evan, it looks like it's going to be another week, my man. Another rough week. And Brennan on cruise control. I don't get it, man. No injuries. Everybody's dealing with bye weeks. No buys. No. We're living on easy street, Brennan. It's just life in the fast lane, and you've got no cares in the world. You're already in the play. The rest of us are scrounging to make the playoffs, and you did this 2 weeks ago. This is old news. Lamar Jackson coming in here, taper expectation. Pittsburgh has a good defense. James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, and same thing, tapering expectation there with Cook in the Kansas City. CeeDee Lamb. Will he be able to see? And then at the same time, you have Houston, who is a tough defense, and Desmond Ridder, I believe, is the starting quarterback. So not good. George Pickens could be a league-winning wide receiver. Taysom Hill, Cleveland, love that matchup. Drake Hill with Denver, taper expectation. Patrick Surtain is going to be all over him. And in a week where I need a win and in running Drake London myself, I'm not very happy with the matchup. You know, I think Denver's going to have a good day. You know, Atlanta struggled. I mean, look what they did. You know, they struggled against New Orleans, for Christ's sake. San Francisco, the defense, and Butker, the kicker. I'm just looking at your bench. It gave me pause because I just saw Calvin Ridley. You're crazy for not starting. Well, you know, I get it with Brennan Aubrey. See, you know, you're there, man. The mindset, yeah. So you're not really starting anybody here. 124, the projection. Evan, much like myself, on the mediocre part, the low end of 100 here. Patty Mahomes coming in as the quarterback once more, as Baker Mayfield is on a bye, but you know, it's been serviceable. Taper expectation, Buffalo, they're on fire right now. Josh Jacobs coming back from the bye, but is a little banged up, and so is Najee Harris, and they get Chicago and Baltimore. Not really worried about Chicago's run defense, but Baltimore has a much better run stop defense than their secondary. Justin Jefferson and Christian Watson, wide receivers 1 and 2. Although Chicago is very good, you know, and Christian Watson's been on fire. Maybe they'll, you know, this just goes back to the conversation I had about, you know, my matchup and with Aaron. And so clearly for the three of us, this Green Bay game is going to be quite important. And the wide receiver that comes out with the most points here could be very crucial, obviously, this week for us. You have a much better tight end matchup with Njoku coming off the bye as well. Jamison Williams gets Jacksonville, the Jets defense, and Tucker. So you've got some nice matchups here, Evan. You got to put up more than 50 points. And, you know, I will say you're sitting at 4-6. You're tied, or not really tied. I forgot they're 5-5. You're right on the tied for the outside looking in. That's what I meant to say. And a win here is huge. One of these 4-6 teams is going to lose. Everybody's in a tough matchup and a wonky matchup this week. Both the 5th and 6th seed are sitting at 5-5. So this 5th and 6th seed are completely wide open to more than half of the league. So a win at 4-6 is huge. And of course, we know with 4 games left to go, you don't want to, you know, look at Aaron Felch, you know, 3-7 has to run the gauntlet, you know, didn't mention that, but good that we have these two matches next to each other in the sense that, you know, you've got to win 4 games, Aaron. And so much like, and almost in a similar boat, Evan, obviously 1 game to give, but, you know, got to find 3 wins in the next 4 games, which is, you know, again, that's a tall order, but it can be done. It can be done, and there are people who are in a worse boat. So, Evan, it's a chance with nice matchups to beat this projection here. But, Brennan, I mean, bro, it's just another healthy, I can't stress the healthy part of this, no bye week setup, and I've said it many times. Until I see it, I'm not going to bet against it. So yes, give me Brennan Scala to continue the undefeated streak here in Week 11. Game 3 features Jordan Payne taking on struggling Jack Little. Raven and Jack already eliminated from playoffs, but a great opportunity to put an opponent who is a little bit lower in the table into a dangerous position. 2 losses here, and you might have a chance of eliminating Jordan, or at least helping eliminating him from the playoffs. But Jordan, it's been a rough couple of weeks, 2 losses in a row. You're still sitting at 4-6, so right on the outside looking in. Easy to steal a 5th or 6th seed with a win. You very much increase the chances of that happening this week. So let's go ahead and take a look as Josh Allen will get Kansas City. And I think this game is going to be a little bit more defensive than we might think. But, of course, plenty of offensive prowess for both of those teams in that game. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, running backs 1 and 2. And it's like, Germany at the end of World War II. We've got, broken men and old men and, boys coming to the line here in week 11 for Jordan. A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp. Like I said, we got old men here. Wide receivers 1 and 2, Washington, New England. This is going to be great. Great matchup here. Dawson Knox and not Dalton Kincaid. And I guess we're going to anticipate either Dalton Kincaid not playing and or just, hey, we'll just see if Dawson Knox is going to win one here, but still keeping with the stack I do like. Bold move, still playing Josh Downs. I wouldn't do it. No way. With Anthony Richardson, no way. You're telling me you don't have. I mean, man, go. Oh, you're already starting to stash defenses. It's too early to start stashing defenses. You're not even in the playoffs. You have to, Jordan, I'm a little surprised here. Drop Tampa Bay for the love of Christ. You have Detroit is serviceable, more than serviceable, for another 2 weeks minimum, and go pick up some wide receiver. It's a boomer bust play, but I mean, Josh Downs is against the Jets with Anthony Richardson, who hasn't started a game in weeks. No, I expect better, sir. Detroit, we just talked about the defense, and Boswell, kicker still in jackass. I don't care if you drafted him first and I took him and then you've taken him back. That's still my kicker. In this one, 114, it is a 13-point projection. Jack, you are projected a little over 100 at 101. Jordan Love, a game against Chicago, taper expectation. They're very good against quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, my quarterback, scored 5 points against them. They're not a good matchup. Travis Etienne and Raheem Mostert are, frankly, boom or bust. Running back plays. Cortland Sutton, Zay Flowers, they're great matchups, even though Pittsburgh is tough. I think that Zay Flowers, just needs a better game than he had last week. So maybe you are tapering expectation in this one. Yeah, Evan Ingram, we all know backup quarterbacks, younger quarterbacks are going to check down, so probably lots of volume here. DK Metcalf, I guess he does have his injury designation changed. I hadn't read that, but a lot going on today. So, all right, lets me know what I need to know about Tyler Lockett. Baltimore's defense and Evan McPherson, the kicker. Lots of options here on the bench as you're pretty much ready to go, but I do believe you have made the right choices here. I don't think there's anyone that I would start over one or the other. So, you have some nice matchups. The big difference here is the running back core, and I don't even particularly like Jordan's running back core. It is, in this case, better than yours, and I just don't think there's enough here, Jack. I think the struggles are going to continue here in week 11, so please give me Jordan Payne to get out of this funk, get a win here in week 11, and get up to 5-6 going into week 12. Game 4 will feature Co-commissioner Aaron Grogg, who is number 6, holding on just barely after that win last week to get back to 5-5, taking on Josh Johnson, who is also struggling, sitting here at 2-8, 6 straight losses. Josh, it has just been a very rough season. Just things not going your way, but a great opportunity to really upset the upper echelon and a great opportunity to cause chaos in the playoff bracket seeding, if you will, and you have a chance to do it. This game is within 2 points, 2.5 points, which means it can go Anyway, let's take a look as Aaron Grogg will have Joe Burrow, and a 30-point game against the Chargers I don't think is coming. They are really, really good, and they're starting to build momentum. And so I think that this is a game that you might be a little surprised, but Joe Burrow playing well, Cincinnati coming together. I can't imagine them losing this game. So yeah, is it? Do we count on Joe Burrow having a big game? Sure. Just monitor this one, and I wouldn't. At the end of the day, if Joe Burrow walked away with 15 points here or so, I just wouldn't be surprised. Jerome Ford hoping that he falls in the end zone and can vulture a touchdown, as everyone here dealing with injuries and the trade deadline's over. You're playing who you can, finding life where you can. There's a reason Jordan's starting Josh Downs with Anthony Richardson at the end of the day. Okay, believe me, I understand. I'm just saying you can't do it, Jordan. I digress. Need a touchdown here from Ford. I don't think it's going to happen. Alvin Kamara against Cleveland, I think, could be another big play, especially, we talked about it. No Olave. Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, and look who is slotted to play. Still carries a questionable designation, so I'm sure you will be monitoring that. Tucker Kraft is the play here, and maybe, as we said, because they're so good against quarterbacks, Chicago, and wide receivers, is Tucker Kraft going to find himself another 20-point day, because he will be an outlet for Jordan Love in this game. Watch it happen. And yes, much like myself in my other league, I'm struggling and I need it bad. Nico Collins hopefully will play against Dallas, and it would be a prime matchup for both of us, Mr. Grogg, in the respective leagues. If you could play Cleveland defense and Young Ho Koo, the kicker. I don't understand. That's because you don't have another RB. Oh, Rachaad White. Okay, there it was. I was looking at your bench and I couldn't find. I knew you had another running back, and I guess he just got lost in there. But yes, Rachaad White on the bye. So that explains the RB2 there. Okay, just couldn't find it. Let's go ahead and take a look in this, and that may be your saving grace right there, Josh. That RB2 situation, especially if Nico Collins comes back. And then I will say, if Nico Collins doesn't play, if T. Higgins doesn't play, think you might have this one in the bag. Jared Goff cannot throw 5 interceptions, but he gets a great matchup against Jacksonville, so I think he's going to have a feast day. CMC and J.K. Dobbins, and the matchups are good. Love that. Puka Nacua, Amari Cooper. Will Amari Cooper be benched? And will he play? Puka is just a volume monster right now. And I like the matchups here. Tyler Conklin, Indianapolis. I mean, this could be a touchdown kind of day. Weird flex with Madison. I didn't expect that, to be perfectly honest. Buffalo, the defense, and Fairbairn, the kicker. And going back to Madison, it's a matchup with Miami. And I hate to say it. And not that I'm against Tua or anything. It's just, talk about a dynamic of one player having an effect on an entire team. I mean, what did I say the other, in one of the previous episodes, that, I think it was the week 9 preview, where it's like, dude, Tua even affects the defense and their performance, right? So tough flex play, I think, right there, because we don't even know who's really going to be quarterback in Las Vegas. So I almost want to take Eckler. Like, what did we not learn last week? And then especially with Brian Thomas injured, and Austin Eckler, or Philadelphia has a 60-point touchdown conversion rate to running backs inside the red zone. Can't remember the exact number, but it's ridiculously high. So Eckler could absolutely get into the end zone this weekend, and I don't see Alexander Madison doing anything. But your team, do what you need, but food for thought. This game is close. It is within 2 points. However, the running back core really makes me pause here, because CMC could absolutely have a day. Puka's going to get peppered with everything. The flex play, T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins plays. Nico Collins is a 100% 50-50 question mark. Who even knows what's going on with that guy? I mean, I was talking with Aaron. It's like we went from day to day to IR to not coming off of IR to now off of IR, but still not. What's happening? So, you know what? Let's just do it. Give me Josh Johnson to start off our playoff push upset and give Aaron Grogg on a weird week. I said this is a wonky week. This is one of these wonky games, and a loss coming to the co-commish here in week 11. Game number 5 will feature Austin Allen, who is number 3, taking on Brauc Higgins, who has won 4 games in a row. Austin, we talked about it in the Week 10 recap, 3 losses. It's almost polar opposite of what Brauc is doing right now. And 3 losses, 4 wins. Brauc coming from the brink of destruction. Austin, you've lost that number 2 seed for now. Still sitting at number 3, but just the tough part of your schedule right now. I will say you're playing an opponent. You have a 15-point line favored in this game, and it is I think this could be another high-scoring week. Not a lot going on here. I don't see anyone of crazy note for you, Austin, that's on by, more so with Brauc, especially in a very interesting position. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and break this one down. Austin, again, 3 losses in a row, struggling. Great opportunity to get back in the win column here. Jane Daniels needs to have a better week than he did last week, but look, he runs into Philadelphia. They feel like, a night and day team since before the bye, and maybe in this game it could be another single digit week, at least maybe 10 or 12 points. Not what you need when you trade for the number 1 quarterback in the season so far. Saquon Barkley having some quiet weeks and gets Washington. We talked about not really afraid of their defense, and just having a quiet bit of a run right now, and you see that reflected in the fact that you haven't won when Saquon Barkley's not scoring 30-ish points. That's just crazy. Dream Gibbs, a little bit of a lackluster week last week. Jacksonville in this one, so I feel this could help make up for the points that you may not see with Saquon. But I mean, if Saquon and Gibbs have good days here, if they get their averages, yeah, you're going to win this game. Darnell Mooney and JSN, wide receivers 1 and 2. JSN being acquired in a somewhat questionable trade with Jonathan Andrews there, and tough defenses, Denver and San Francisco. So taper expectation for these wide receivers. George Kittle, who seems matchup proof, gets Seattle. Great matchup. Devonta Smith in Washington. So hopefully this Philadelphia Washington game, needing the points, needing production. Everything went to Goddard and AJ Smith AJ Brown last week, Smith struggling. Denver's defense and Bass, the kicker, not a lot of difference. No way you can start Javonte Williams, especially if Estime is taking over that job. But I see you were able to pick him up on waivers. Not a lot you're going to do different here, bench-wise. Brauc, you are impressing the hell out of me, man. I think you're impressing everybody in the league. And why not? It's been a crazy run. Unfortunately, no Trey McBride. Mike Evans still out, but you've been winning without him. And I know that's not something that is going to continue forever, but boy, how do you like to see that you're able to win when you don't have him. Not a lot different here. Tua, but in the game with Las Vegas, Sam Darnold gets Tennessee, so it's definitely a an arguably better matchup. Thank you for not starting Keenan Allen. I just want to say that. Thank you. So let's go ahead. Let's break it down. Sam Darnold, a little banged up, but gets Tennessee. It is a good matchup here. Devon Achane and Rico Dowdle. Las Vegas and Houston taper expectation for Dowdle and Dallas and anything in Dallas. I don't even know. This might, dude, go back to Brennan. Evan, if you have a good week and CeeDee Lamb has a bad week, and I don't see anything in Dallas going really well right now. That's a game. Dude, I'm telling you, upsets can happen this week. And so, again, Brauc, you have been killing it. And 4 wins in a row. Your opponent's on 3 losses in a row. This just kind of sucks, man. This Rico Dowdle matchup, no Dak, really, really bad. Tyreek Hill and Ricky Pearsall, wide receivers 1 and 2. And, why not, man? 4 and 6, tough opponent, number 1 or top 3 seed. And you saw how much points they were able to put up last week. Why not throw out the dice that is the San Francisco wide receivers and get what you can? Will Dissly, Big Montana, coming in and watch him get a touchdown against Cincinnati for you in this game. We talked about Jawan Jennings there being started with Pearsall. Like the play, unfortunately, just, at least on paper, not much better than Devonta Smith. And, especially if Devonta Smith is able to have a normal, what we drafted and or in this case, Austin traded to get Devonta Smith. Philadelphia's defense and Bates, the kicker, can he not only save Detroit's day, second week in a row, not saying it's going to come down to that, I have no idea, but can he be your savior as well? I'm going to do it. I wasn't. The whole time leading into this game, just the matchups, the 15-point spread, I was like, Austin is going to get back in winning form. There's just no way. The running back core alone is just too overpowering. The wide receiver core drops off, but then it's like I've convinced myself back into it again. Okay, give me Austin Allen, the number 3 team, to get back into the winning form here in Week 11. Game 6 will feature the Grand Wizard Forrest Dozier, who has won 3 games in a row to get to 4 and 6, taking on Chandler Taylor, who is tied for that 6th seed, 5 and 5, but still finds himself on the outside looking in if it were to end today. So a huge win. Lots of implications, okay? First of all, the trade. Can the players that these two owners traded get their revenge in this game? And, do the points that I traded hopefully into, are they going to get me a win over the person that gave them up this week? Chandler, we'll start with you. You're right there, tied for that 6th seed. A decent chance that Aaron loses. If he loses, you win. You go to 6 and 5. But then me and Derek are in tough matches this week. Very good chance that both of us end up 6 and 5 after this week. You could be right in there, tied for a 4th seed. And then, even then, with Austin, he could go 7 and 4. You could be 1 game behind a number 3 seed. And that goes, of course, for all of us that are, in the upper tier here of the table. However, let's look at Forrest. A win here for you gets you to 5 and 6. Chandler would fall to 5 and 6. Chance that Aaron Grogg falls to 5 and 6. You could find yourself looking at a tie for a 6th seed, and to think that a 6th seed could be an under 500 team. That's very, very thought-provoking, and one of the reasons why implications and matchups like this here towards the playoff push are so juicy. So let us go ahead. Let's break it down. Bo Nix, if you can get, 16 against Kansas City, what are we going to have against Atlanta? I'm looking forward to it. Aaron Jones, little still banged up, but great matchup with Tennessee. And David Montgomery gets Jacksonville. The running back core is primed this week. Cedric Tillman and Jalen Waddle. And, I'm starting to now let the worry set in here for Jalen Waddle. I really thought last week would be better, even with Tyreek Hill dealing with I can't believe the dude's playing with a torn ligament or tendon or whatever in his wrist. I mean, that's insane. And it started off really good, 30-yard passes, and then it just stopped. And I think he did drop 3 other passes. He goes 3 for 6, but just not what you're wanting when you made that trade. Just I will say it does keep your wide receiver depth. That's why you did that. But you know what? You've won 3 games in a row, and you had to make a trade that would change your fortune. I just want to point out the teams that have made less transactions, the teams that have made less trades, generally are the teams that struggle as the year goes on. When you draft, it's just a foundation. Your team should resemble almost nothing that it did when you first drafted it. And so, making crucial changes, Forrest is proving that it works. Travis Kelce, crucial, key to your entire offense, has to have a good game against Buffalo. Tank Dell, we'll see. I mean, it's been mediocre even without Nico Collins. We're just going to see what happens. But there's nobody on your bench that you're going to start over him. Houston's defense and Elliott, the kicker, 115. And unfortunately, my friend, you're projected 4 points behind Chandler. And I hate to tell you, Forrest, Chandler is just on fire, and the trades that Chandler's made because his Diddy freak parties have diddled himself into what I don't want to say it because I just don't want I don't want to speak it into being, but as a good commentator, I have to say Chandler is by far and away becoming someone I think that we're going to see in the championship game. I do not want to play this team when they're fully loaded. I do not want to find myself in a playoff matchup with Chandler's team. I mean, it's just simply fantastic. Brock Purdy, Seattle, and when Seattle and San Francisco play, it's always a high-scoring thing. So this is going to be a fun game for people who have players in this matchup, I think. Bijan, who has been just fire for the last month, gets Denver. So taper expectation a little bit here, but what you're really hoping is that he makes up points that DeAndre Swift is going to maybe not get, especially against Green Bay. They have a very good defense. Scary Terry, Jamar Chase. This is where everything changes. Those 2 dudes, your wide receiving core, period. I mean, Zach Ertz is a 10-point average player. So Scary Terry and Jamar Chase, Philadelphia, the Chargers, you can pass on Philly. The Chargers are getting better, but, I mean, they're not going to stop Jamar Chase. Zach Ertz gets Philly. Debo, Seattle. What did I just say? And now you have the stack. I get you. I mean, you gave up Montgomery, but you got Debo, who is going to be a top 25 wide receiver, probably top 15 after everything's done. But you also get the stack. It allows you to buy into the stack. So huge, and you saw what happened, over 30 points last week between you. That's what you buy. You buy into stacks for 30 plus points in a game. Pittsburgh, the defense, you need to swap defenses, sir. And you have the bench space to do it, so please pick up a defense. Lolt's the kicker, so this is going to go even higher once you swap your defense, I imagine by 3 to 4 points. So what is already 3 and 4 points is going to be another 3 and 4 points. I imagine it's going to be a 7 to 8 point game. And Forrest, I think this game is going to score high. I think that DeAndre Swift is going to struggle, so I actually think on balance, I think Montgomery and Jones, if they do their job, will actually be able to put up, enough points to stave off Bijan. The wide receiver core, though, is not even comparable. It's backups and fill-ins and wide receiver 2s taking on a just daunting line of Class A wide receiver 1s Yes, Travis Kelce could score 12 point or 20 points, and Zach Ertz could get his 10, but nothing is going to overpower this wide no, it is the wide receiving core in the league right now. Yes, for that reason, give me Chandler Taylor to improve to 6-5 here in week 11. One game left to go. It's time for Game of the Week.
Wubba lubba dub dub!
Yeah!
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
You talk about implications. This game has everything you want in a playoff push fantasy matchup. Number 2, Jonathan Andrews taking on number 5, Derrick Ashe. Jonathan sitting at 8-2, 2 wins in a row. Derrick fresh off of a loss from yours truly, and Jonathan, a win here really puts a hold on to that number 2 seed, gives you a good chance if Brennan somehow were to lose this week or at any point in time to be within one game, if not try and overtake for a number 1 position. Now, that's going to be a little bit harder, but the point is you want that bye week, which you would definitely have the chance of keeping a hold on to and getting that, don't want to have to play anybody in that opening quarterfinal round. Of course, the loss, puts Austin and everyone below you right back in it. Derrick getting to 7-4 instead of falling to 6-5 is huge. We just talked about it with Chandler or Grogg, who will, if on a win, jump up to 6-5. That puts them right with you and I if we do lose this week. And, that means that everything from seed 4 down to seed 6, all 4. I mean, it means they're all open. It means everything's open, and then, of course, if Austin were to lose, then that means everything, every seed, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all just wide open to whoever going in with 3 weeks left to go. So it could be chaos supreme here after this matchup, these matchups here in week 11. So let's go ahead. Let's break this down. I don't see too many buys, if anything. I mean, Adam Thielen, you're not starting him, so nothing crazy on the bench here that you're worried about. So you're pretty much cock-locked and ready to rock. Derrick, on the other hand, no Malik Neighbors, no Bucky Irving, no McMillan. I don't know if you'd actually start McMillan, but, both these players playing into your productivity last week. And so, it shows in your projection. You're right there. Funny that the 2 teams that are 6-4 were both projected 1-4. How about that? And that's the one thing. You're going to start seeing these score consistencies, especially when we get into the playoffs, because you're going to be playing people that are pretty much right next to you, especially in the consolation ladder, more so in the consolation ladder. Obviously, you have a bracket, so 2's playing 6. The difference in those teams 3 playing 6. The difference in those teams is usually more stark. Nevertheless, let's go ahead breaking it down. CJ Stroud acquired in that trade and somewhat questionable, I think some might say. I'm definitely wondering how you walk away with CJ Stroud for JSN in a defense. It's an interesting thought process for the commissioner right now, especially in a matchup with Dallas. So very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, wide receivers 1 and 2. I love the matchup with Indianapolis. San Francisco, taper expectation with Walker. Devonta Adams and D-Hop. Here, Indianapolis and Buffalo. D-Hop's projection a little bit lower, understandable, but Devonta Adams and Garrett Wilson could both have a good day. But, we saw how bad the Jets were, and And watching, Indianapolis doesn't have a horrible defense, not horrible. So this could be, but Anthony Richardson's back. Oh man, I don't even know. Such a weird, again, wonky week 11. Brock Bowers, love the play. Miami, Jacoby Myers here, nice little flex play. Of course, we have no idea who's really going to be the quarterback there in Las Vegas. So just hoping for a touchdown, I feel. Miami's defense and Romo, the kicker, it's 118. We may not have as high a projection in this one as we think. But again, your opponent dealing with some bye week, dealing with some injuries still. Jonathan Brooks just hasn't worked out. Not the way you thought. And again, it looks like we're just not going to see him. Just not going to see him this year. Justin Herbert, 19 points. You need it again. And against Cincinnati, I think we can do that. Derrick Henry, Pittsburgh. I want to say taper expectation. It's been a little, but I mean, the production hasn't been what you want, especially when we look at the early season Derrick Henry. That's the Derrick Henry you want. You don't want 12, 15-point Derrick Henry, even though there are people in the league who would kill for 12 or 15 points from any one of their running backs. Is not what you have Derrick Henry for. So he needs to have a big game, especially to beat a top 3 opponent. You need Brian Robinson to play in this game. Amon St. Brown, Demario Douglas, definitely a, touchdown dependent play at wide receiver 2 there. Kyle Pitts, Denver, maybe that actually works out in his favor. Odunze, you can't. No. Derek, sir. Play. Oh, man. Turd Ferguson, McMillan. I mean, as my brother would say, booty, but boot. I don't remember how to pronounce his name. Kayshon Boot. I'd almost rather play him than Rome Odunze. I just can't do Chicago. I can't do it. Surely, go pick someone up off of the waiver wire, my man. We don't need Drake May. Drake May's not going to help you win. Find someone who's going to help you win because Odunze's not it. Odunze can't do it. The Chargers defense and Sanders, man, Derek, I love it. I think he's just a really rough part of your season right now. And, it's a tough loss against me last week. And it's another top. Dude, you're running the gauntlet, and I'm right there with you. My matchups are no more easy than yours are moving forward after this week. So a lot of people dealing with tough matchups, not only this week, but moving forward. And I hate that Odunze play. Demario Douglas, it's rough, but it is an outclass all around. But I will say, Jonathan is due for a loss. It could happen. Mr. Consistent, if there's anything I can tell you, Derek sets his lineups for a reason. And so sometimes we do it out of necessity, but there's a reason Odunze's on this team, and that's because there is a chance he could go off and watch him. You need him to get a touchdown. He needs to get a touchdown. I don't know if it's going to make a difference in this game, and I am going to go with the projection. Give me Jonathan Andrews to pick up his 9th win here in week 11. Let's go ahead and bring up the power rankings for week 11. As you can see, Chandler Taylor sitting atop the power rankings for week 11. Not even close. Jordan, Austin, Brennan, all there in the top 4. And much to my chagrin, and you can see, I mean, even in the power rankings and now this is not for the season. This is, of course, just we look at the individual weeks. But Aaron, both Aarons are top 6 teams. So not good for me and not good for Josh. Not good for the Johnson boys. But Josh, look, man, when I tell you could win this week, you can beat Co-commissioner Aaron Grogg. You're the number 7 power ranked team this week. And I get CMC's coming back to be too little too late for you to make the playoffs. He is going to keep others from making the playoffs, man. Do it. Do it this week, Josh. Jonathan, so look, man, Derrick. Jonathan is the 8th power ranked team, and you're right behind him at 9. Derrick, you can win this game. You can absolutely win this game. It's not just what it looks like on paper. I think it was Field Yates that was talking about the other day, and it's so true. Fantasy can be so frustrating in the sense that you could have the best team on paper and you'll still lose. It's so crazy, and you're almost living a microcosm of that, Aaron. That your team is scoring what you need it to score, just not winning. Can you do it this week? Not against me, because I'm going to still outscore you. But can Derrick do it? That's the question. That's what I meant to say. Can Derrick do it? Forever Unclean, the Grand Wizard, Brauc Hudgens, Jack, and myself will fill out the bottom half. Guys, unless your name is Aaron Felch, have a good week. Good luck. Aaron, F you, buddy. Get off my lawn. Everybody take care. Peace out.